Hi guys, my name is Avin Chauke. I'm a writer and I'm a speaker and I am an engineer. Now most people don't know or most people that have came in contrast to what I do, they have never been exposed to that side of the engineering part. So if you're one of those people, welcome. Yes, I am an engineer. Yes, I'm a speaker. Yes, I'm a writer. So in most of the instances, actually, there's more to me about writing than anything else. I think I process the world through words than anything else, and I'm so grateful that that is the case. I'm not sure if it's the case or it's not. Um, my uncle, may he so rest in peace, introduced me to reading by him buying newspapers, and I started being obsessed, and then him buying magazines, started being obsessed in reading, and from there I never looked back. This is back around in 2003, 2001, and I was just amazed by words, and started reading a lot, and it became like something that was something that I could not resist and became my obsession, and it influenced everything in my life. When I got to varsity and I had access to books, I almost failed my modules because I became so obsessed in philosophy and reading books and everything because I thought like this is what I'm actually there for. Um, I've never taken things so serious to say like this is what I'm actually here to do. I mustn't get distracted about books and everything. I had more books in university that I were to read about philosophy and leadership than I had about engineering. Um, I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but here I am today, making videos and writing books and doing all the work that I do. And I'm so grateful to God and to all of you who have supported me throughout the years. Success Psychological turns actually 10 years this year. And now that I'm thinking about it, actually, I actually have to make a video specifically for Success Psychological because it turns 10 years. And guys, 10 years is a lot, and I think like there's something that I can actually start reflecting upon, and some of the ideas that has worked for me and some of the ideas that has failed, what I thought was cool or great then, and which I realized that it was not, and all of those things. So I kind of think like I need to do something, and but anyway, let's talk about what I'm here for today, which is it's end year functions all over. Some of them have been done. Some of them they're still going to be planned. Tomorrow, which is the 19th of December. I'm recording this video on the 18th, and tomorrow is my last day at work. I'm going to resume again in January, and I was thinking about end year fatigue. You know, as a topic that I want to talk about. You say, why are we having end year fatigue? Because this fatigue, it kind of like started like a couple of years ago, maybe just after COVID or maybe before COVID, but kind of like we didn't understand where it's coming from. So I just formulated some ideology to say maybe this is where it's coming from and maybe this is what we can do. Now, if you look at how the capitalism or just the job market has, worked or revolved in the past years, it's kind of like very interesting. There was a time where, people will come to Gauteng or wherever, to just go and do the work, and there was not any other thing that you would do. So if I can I'm gonna talk about my grandfather, is that he just left Malamlele and then he went to Gauteng, got a job, and started working, and that was it. And then, when the time comes for retirement, then you go home. But he kind of like from that time, which is like around the 80s, up until now, a lot of things has happened. Different industries have came up. You've got the whole industry of tech, which is like you're actually going into a corporate park or an office park where you're not creating anything physically. Like all of the communication that happen, through the optic fiber, through the optic cable, through the LAN cables. You're not doing anything. So you're actually communicating through that. You are not making plastic. You are not making chairs. You're not making tables. You're not doing any physical labor. But we've got an industry altogether that you're actually going to a job, and that's actually what you do. Now, obviously, a lot of things has happened since then, and industry keep on evolving. Obviously, we still have those industries. We still have, steel. We still have like manufacturing of plastics and all of that. We still have, but we need to pay attention to how the industry has evolved over the years. Now, this has become very interesting to me and to us, as a generation, because we are probably one of the few generations to be in a position where you can do more than one job at a time in a day. You can wake up in the morning and you are working from 7:30 up until 4:30, and from there you can actually be recording a podcast for an hour, and from that podcast you could be doing a TikTok live or YouTube live, or from there you could be managing your website and see who bought what, when, what's happening. So it's kind of like we're the first generation that you can actually do 5 jobs in a day with the leverage that we have of the internet. So it's very rare. We're the first generation, as I say. Our grandparents never had the same opportunity. I don't think in the 80s, my grandfather, when he was busy working as a gardener, he had an opportunity that he could actually go and do other things. He didn't have Facebook account, didn't have all these opportunities and leverage points that we have. So right now we're in a situation where you could be selling something on Facebook and Facebook Market, and you could be in the same time selling something on Instagram. You could be saying something, on bid or buy. So you kind of like have all these options and all these facets that you can able to capitalize or make money from. Now, how does that relate to the idea that I'm talking about of NDA fatigue? It relates in so many ways, because when it comes to fatigue, there's so many things that is related to it, that is associated to it. One of it is the fact that the modern mind is too much stimulated. We're stimulated a lot more than the previous generation. And I can also make a submission that if you are in a relationship right now, maybe for a good 5 years, you have probably been talking to your spouse more than maybe your parents have been speaking or spending time with each other. Why? Because in the period of 5 years, you've went out, you've recorded videos, you chat. Maybe when your spouse is at work, you are chatting. When they're coming back, you're chatting. When you're in a grocery store, you're chatting. So it's kind of like you're spending more time than the old generation. And sometimes it looks like that is not the case, but it actually is, because back in the days, if you had a job, a factory job, you just wake up in the morning, you catch a bus, and then you go to work, and then from 7 o'clock up until maybe 8 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock you are at home. So which means like your kids could actually die, or something bad could actually happen, and you wouldn't know because you're still at work. Nothing, no contact whatsoever. But right now, the internet has given us this opportunity where all of us are connected. So we're kind of like spending more time, even like we're not naturally spending like quality time together, in the sense that we are communicating with each other, but we are not understanding each other, which is very important part of communication. Now that's number one, that you've got a system of people that they're talking to each other, but they are not understanding each other. And you've got a situation where you're spending more time because we're talking via the phones, right? So that's number one. Now, remember this point, I was actually trying to justify why we are so tired, right? So that's number one. The first thing that makes us to be tired is that we are overstimulated. Why are we stimulated? It's because of the phone. If you check your screen time, what is the average time and minute that you spend on all the apps that you have? My phone has got an enablement that I can actually check how much time have I spent today, where did I spend that time. So you kind of like look at these things and you realize that although before the internet we said or promised each other that we don't know a lot of things because of the internet, when the internet came, it has proven to us that lack of information was not the problem, or was not the cause of stupidity or ignorance, because the internet came and we started like finding other things or other excuses to be able to know things. So you have got a generation of people who have got like access to information that is beyond magnificent, right? But we're still kind of like lagging behind in understanding. Now, you now take that we're stimulated not just by, so we have got a phone, which is one thing, but inside a phone you can divide that into so many things that we do on the phone, right? So you can divide that into news, you You can divide it into social media, you can divide it into pornography, you can divide that into betting. So we have got all these categories of things that we do on the phones, right? Now, all of these things, they are always going to be processed by just one structure, which is called the brain, right? So the brain need to process all of this. Now, put that aside. So you've got the mind that is stimulated by soccer, by Betway, by pornography, by, all of these things, right? Now, on top of that, you also need to go to work. When you go to work, you actually need to focus, right? You also need to read mails. You have to go to meetings. You have to know what you said yesterday. You need to know what you need to do. You have got a family. You have got friends. You have got parties, and you have got a car, and you have got marriage, and you have got kids, and they have to go to school, and you have got school yourself. Now, can you imagine? Can you imagine, with all that I've said right now, why wouldn't you not be tired? Because it looks like we were moving forward with technology, but I can tell you we went so much back, because technology has made us to be preoccupied with so many things. We don't have time. If you're in Gauteng and you see your friend and you tell him that we actually need to link up, that can actually take from January up until December, until the next year, until the next day. It can actually take you 5 years to finally sit down with somebody in Gauteng if you're not careful. You can actually look at them, you meet them every time, you say, we need to link up, we need to have coffee, we need to link up, we need to have coffee, we need to link up, we need to have coffee. That conversation can go on and on and on forever if you're not careful in Gauteng. And the reason for that is because we've got so many things to do. But it doesn't look like the things that we have to do that's making us to be fulfilled, that's making us to be happy. And there is so much investment in, creating new industries, in creating new phones, and creating new tech. But it seems not to be like so much investment, even in the scientific space, when it comes to studying people's happiness, studying people's values, studying people what we do on a daily basis. Is it making us fulfilled or not? So the point here about NDA fatigue is that at the center of fatigue, it's not just about the job. Yes, maybe you've got a terrible boss. Yes, maybe you've got terrible colleagues. Yes, maybe you're underpaid. We understand all the factors. Yes, we understand the economical, varieties that are happening. Maybe, something is more expensive or it's less expensive. Obviously, maybe you are underpaid and all of these factors. I do understand that. I'm factoring that in this conversation. But one thing that we don't pay attention to is that the fact that our minds are too much stimulated. Stimulated from the time we wake up, stimulated from the time that we sleep. You won't believe how many people, they wake up, the first thing that they do is to reach out their phone. The last thing that they do is to reach out to their phone before they sleep, which is something that never happened in the past. In the past, the first thing that you'll do, you'll just have to wake up, maybe go and open a door, look outside, start yawning, come back to the house, start preparing yourself to go to work. It's different now. You've got so many things. You get stimulated by the laptop, you get stimulated by your phone, you get stimulated by everything. Your car is digital, everything is digitalized. But you don't realize that your brain does not have the capacity to be able to process all of these things. And obviously, there is this science where people are trying to push that no, the brain actually have got more capacity than we use. We only use 5% of our brain, we only use 10%. Let's try to see if we can use 100% of the brain and all of that. There's a science and a baking all of these things. But I can tell you that for me, what I look is just that there's just someone that is trying to get more out of my brain than I can able to do by myself. I don't buy the story. I really don't understand where is all of this thing coming. So, guys, when everything has been said and done, we have to come down to the whole truth. The truth is that we are overstimulated. The overstimulation comes with the fact that when we are stimulated to the extent of comparing ourselves with other people, which is one thing that I spoke about when I wrote Digital Sabbath, where I said, in trying to bring us together, the internet has divided us. So you're kind of like stimulated by all of those things, and you've got these challenges that you have at home and at work, and in your marriage, and you think to yourself, actually, someone else is actually having it better. But you cannot kind of like quantify if that is true or not, because you're just seeing them through your phone. You're not sure, you know. So what we need to start doing then is that we need to reassess our lives. We need to press a pause. We need to pull the plug. We need to go to a date where we start putting restrictions. So like, you know what, we're going on a date. If you use a phone, that is 50 Rand. We're going on a date. If you're going to use a phone, you're paying the bill. We need to start putting consequences to the behaviors that we've created for ourselves. We need to do all of this thing. Like, okay, when it's time for us to eat as a family, you don't use a phone. If you use a phone, this is the amount of money that you have to pay. We need to start putting measures into place for us to be able to discipline ourselves back into what will cause us to be stable mentally, emotionally. And that is not going to be very easy, because we have now become so obsessed with technology. We are so obsessed with all these applications to an extent that we don't use them. They actually use us. When you want to go to WhatsApp, you're not going to WhatsApp to text someone. You're going there to actually check who has texted me. And who has texted you is not supposed to be important to begin with, because the most important thing is that who do you want to connect to. So actually you have to look at this as this is a connection point. I want to make a connection the same way that you want to make a phone call. This is how we need to be treating social media. And this is the case that I've made on my book as well, to say that we are in a space where these applications is using us, we're not using them. So in trying to go back and to where we started from, which is to say that the reason for NDF fatigue is not necessarily the work. Yes, we're working hard. Yes, we do a lot of work. But at the center of it all is that we are doing work, jobs that we are not interested in. And we are combining that with everything else. And we're combining that with having two lives. So you've got a life from Monday to Friday, and you want to create a different life from Saturday to Sunday. And the time for that is very small. So we kind of like need to go back and reflect about our life from Monday to Sunday. So this is what I'm doing. Is this what I want to do? Is this how I want to live my life? Because guys, whether we accept it or not, life is very short. You don't know how long you're going to live. The only thing that you know is how long you have lived so far. And the only way to make the next coming 5 years and 3 years and 10 years to be better is for you to start doing something different. And I'm not talking about this and I feel like, oh, you need to change your life, change your mindset, whatsoever. This is just about small things. This is just about auditing your life. An audit is about what you have done. But many of us, we don't want to audit our life. We actually just want to plan. This is like planning sometimes is an escape, because you're trying to run away from the things that you have done this year. You don't want to assess it, you don't want to go through it, you just want to plan the next life, the next few days, the next few life, the next few years, the next few months, instead of auditing what you have been doing. Because there's a reason why you have been doing what you've been doing. Why have you been doing that? So instead of just blaming our jobs, let us look at the habits that we are actually bringing to the job. Why do you come to work tired? Is it because of work itself? You're not working. Is it because of alcohol? Why were you drinking? And the way that you're drinking. Why are you tired? So work is like money. It's very easy to take your stress and to take your reasoning to work. You can actually say, I've been tired because I've been waking up early in the morning every day at 5 o'clock. I had to be at work at 7. I have to drop the kids at school. I have to do that. I understand. But I can tell you that there is always things that is actually a result or a problem that has made us or made you to be tired, except work. And you have to go through those things. And like, you know what? Yes, I work hard. Yes, I come back late. Yes, all of this thing is happening. But you know what? Even when I sleep, I don't sleep because of this problem. And this is what is actually making me to be tired. Work is not actually the real problem. So, at the grand scheme of things, all of us, each of us, have to take advantage and has to take accountability of our fatigue. It's not work, it's that we are overstimulated and we are over committed to things. There's so many things that we're committed to, and a lot of things we don't need. This is why we have to cut these things. This is why we have to go back and say, you know what? Maybe I don't need 5 social media platforms. Maybe if I've got WhatsApp and Facebook, that's enough. Maybe if I've got TikTok and WhatsApp, that's enough. Maybe one social media to connect with the world and one to connect with friends, it's enough. We don't need to have everything, guys. We don't need to have anything. I can promise you. I'm one person who have tried a lot of things, a lot of platforms. I get to realize that it's not worth it. It's really not worth it. Some of these platforms, they just causes us to have headaches and envy and just desire a lifestyle that we never wanted for ourselves. So it's time that as this year is coming to an end, you need to do an audit for yourself. Why am I tired every year, every end of the year? Is it because of the work that I'm doing, or is it because of other things? What can I do to be able to make sure that I avoid those things? Does that mean that you won't be tired? You will be tired because you're doing physical work and you're engaging your mind. But sometimes the level of fatigue that we have is a result of so many things than just the work. Please let me know what you think about this. See you on the next one. Cheers.